Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. It's the fourth Wednesday of the month, and that means it's time for our Bird Notes program. Joining us as always is bird expert and conservation biologist for Audubon, Vermont, Mark LaBarr. And joining Mark today is the Vermont fish and wildlife biologist, Dave Adams. Thank you both for coming in.
Thank you. It's always great to be here, and it's great to bring Dave on the program to talk about a great project that Vermont Fish and Wildlife is doing to help conservation in the state.
A cool program, and it's called the Vermont Habitat Stamp Program. So, Dave, tell us about it.
Yeah, the Vermont Habitat Stamp Program is something that the department started a couple of years ago to help begin to bring non-traditional users to the table to help support conservation efforts of Vermont. For the past, we've relied heavily on anglers and trappers and hunters to fund our department, so the Habitat Stamp provides opportunities for other avenues for revenue to come in.
Other people to also
be part
of this.
Which is a great opportunity for the the birding community out there to contribute, because a lot of this habitat supports a lot of the birds that we'd like to see.
Absolutely. And so tell us a little bit about that. This is, of course, is a way for other people to support it. There are little less money around licenses, so this is a way also to fill that gap.
Absolutely. Yes, this is an opportunity for, again, the hunters and the anglers have really done a lot to help contribute to that. Most of our information shows that the hunters and the anglers are the ones contributing to the Habitat Stamp. So this is an opportunity for the birders, the kayakers, the hikers to get involved by purchasing a stamp, putting a sticker on their car or their kayak to show that they support the conservation efforts of Vermont.
Yeah, and it's kind of based like on the duck stamp, which has been a stamp that duck hunters purchase and has helped with waterfowl conservation and wetland conservation. So this is a great way, again, to support the department and the work that they do.
Awesome. So, Dave, tell us a little bit about some of the areas that the stamp program has helped.
So the stamp has helped in many areas. One of the biggest contributions that we see is the hiring of 2 staff people to help administer on private lands. We have a fisheries aquatic habitat biologist and a private lands biologist. So that's the people that it's helped. We've also put money to help plant trees on grasslands at WMAs. We've done hiking trails on WMAs. We've put in
WMAs, just for those that might not know.
Yes, a wildlife management area. Sorry. These are opportunities for the work to go further than just what we can do with our licensed dollars and with legislative dollars.
And here's one. This is Bird Mountain. There's a peregrine site, and here's another WMA, again focusing on the aquatics. This is the Clyde River WMA. So again, this is money that helps support work on those, as well as adjacent lands and things of that nature.
And certainly peregrines are birds.
Yep.
So a few other places. So it's both private and public. I hear the Heinsberg Town Forest is involved.
Yep, they're in the midst of a project right now where one of our staff is providing technical assistance to mimic a natural blowdown that occurred a couple of years ago to help create habitat for birds and for all wildlife, really. Again, grouse, turkeys, pollinators, everybody will benefit from this habitat work. And there's Andrea on the screen working with the county forester to help implement the work that they're doing out there, identifying the right habitats to make sure everything falls in line with what the department's goals are, as well as the public schools with the town forest.
And when you talk about private lands, are those mainly adjacent to these public lands, or it depends on what's needed?
Well, here's Dave, and Dave's out there with Margaret Fowle, who's an Audubon, Vermont biologist, and we do a lot of work with Dave on private lands and with the Fish and Wildlife Department trying, what is it, 70 to 80% of the properties in Vermont are on private lands, so that's where a lot of that conservation work really needs to be done. Yep. And the Habitat Stamp helps with working with landowners to manage their land for a variety of different habitat types.
Great. For hunting and whatever.
Hunting, fishing. Hunting, fishing.
There we go. Fishing.
Anything related to the outdoors is really what we're trying to do, really get people outside and really enjoy the resources that are here.
Okay, and what about Audubon's work? How do you fit in?
So we're working cooperatively as well as other conservation programs to work with Vermont Fish and Wildlife to help complete some of these tasks. So we spend a lot of time out with Dave in the field doing things like that. Other projects, the Vermont Youth Conservation Corps has been helping doing some planting, so there's a number of different things. You know, as far as projects are concerned, we think of wildlife habitat as maybe habitat management, but it's also there for the public to see. Moose Bog has a nice new boardwalk that's in place. You know, again, these are great places for everybody to go out and view wildlife, and birders especially, you know, so something like this is an access.
Beautiful.
And then down at the Windsor Grasslands, you know, the VYCC crew, the Vermont Youth Conservation crew, we're out there planting and putting a lot of native shrubs in to try to create habitat there for a lot of the different species that we want to see.
Wow, so it does some water control, but it also helps with habitat?
Absolutely. Planting trees is a great way of just mimicking and restoring and natural habitats that have been lost to farming or other agricultural practices. So planting these trees just help create a nice shrubland mosaic habitat.
Cool.
And the Windsor Grassland, they're one of the newest wildlife management areas. It used to be, I think, the old Windsor Prison
I believe
grounds.
so. I believe so, yeah.
Oh.
And so now the state is managing that for, you know, a whole host of species down there. So another great addition to the wildlife management area group.
And I imagine, is this also helping corridors and?
It's all part of the bigger picture. One thing that we really do is really take a landscape perspective on all the work that we do and try to attach critical habitats wherever we can, and that's where the private landowner really comes into play, because there's some of the key linkages. The state and the state and the federal land can only do so much. It's the private landowner that really can fill the gaps out there, and why the work we do with the habitat stamp and through our conservation partners is critically important.
Okay, and of course, since this is Bird Notes, let's talk about some of the bird species that benefit from your work.
Certainly, a lot of our game birds that we focus on are ruffed grouse. We've got the American woodcock and turkey. They're truly going to benefit from this work by creating better nesting sites, better spots to do their display and their feeding and their breeding out there.
And I love this shot because a lot of people don't know that rough around the edge is where the ruffed grouse gets its name. And of course, turkeys are all over the place.
All over the place. It's a great opportunity to hunt. People enjoy getting out and hunting. So it's a bird that we can manage for that people like to see as well as like to consume. So it's a win-win there.
And that's another great success story for Vermont Fish and Wildlife.
Absolutely.
They were reintroduced in the late 60s.
Late 60s,
so?
and they're everywhere now. So we're really excited.
And another fun bird. All these birds have their tails up. It is the breeding season. Is our timber doodle.
Ooh.
Or American woodcock.
Of course.
And so people right now can hear them painting and circling above in the air. And they're a big early successional young forest habitat bird, which again, those plantings that Dave mentioned can be really important as far as protecting that habitat.
Awesome. And Mark, what about non-game species? I mean, it's got to be helpful.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Again, wildlife management areas, they have been viewed, and they're used often by folks that are hunting and fishing, but there's some of the best birding hotspots in Vermont. Dead Creek Wildlife Management Area, you know, up around Moose Bog, that area. And for me, you know, one of the non-game species that is really important that benefits, and I work a lot with Dave, is the golden-winged warbler. This is, again, in the Champlain Valley, a young forest species, so that kind of management supports that. Another early successional young forest shrub species, the eastern towhee, which is the drink your tea. It's out there singing right now as these birds come back. So these are two species that do, when we go out, we do a lot of young forest management, invasive species removal. These species benefit from that. And then, of course, you've got some of your forest species that are certainly benefiting from the forest activities that are on the WMAs and associated lands. So things like the black-throated blue warbler. This is a forest species that likes a forest that has lots of structure in it, not just tall trees, but mid-story trees and low stuff. And then, of course, especially down at the Windsor Grasslands, there's a host of
Bobolinks,
bobolinks.
our grassland birds.
Yep, and meadowlarks. So here's a male and a
Very
female.
important.
The female looks quite different than the male, but they're going to benefit from any grassland management that the state undertakes at its wildlife management areas as well.
Well, I was pretty struck that still the stamp program is mainly supported by hunters.
Yes.
At the moment, and so other people can contribute and keep these very important lands. So how does one
Absolutely.
contribute?
Hunters and anglers are the primary funders right now, funding about 96%, but anyone can get involved. Go to our website at vtfishandwildlife.com, and the Habitat stamp logo is right there at the top. Click on there and you can donate any amount that you see fit. With a donation of $15, we will send you a stamp that you can affix to your car or your kayak or any place you'd like to put it. But any donation amount is accepted and certainly thanked. And we take that money and leverage it 3 times with federal dollars to really make your donation go that much further.
Yeah. And really the program has been really successful, so we certainly want to thank those folks that have
Absolutely.
contributed, but encourage more. Again, you know, the folks that go out and are birding and are using these sites, this is, you know, at the Audubon Center, we have the stamp, you know, proudly displayed right on our door. So this is a way that you can really get out there and show that you're helping conservation here in the state and supporting the great work that the Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department does.
Perfect. It's a real opportunity for other people to get
Involved.
get on
Yeah.
and
Yes.
involved and,
Right.
and help
Right.
out
Yep.
with this stuff, because so many people enjoy our beautiful outdoors.
They certainly do.
So we want to point out that if you have a bird-related question or you want more information, you can always go to Mark LaBarr at Audubon, Vermont, 255 Sherman Hollow Road in Huntington, Vermont, 05462. That's M. LaBarr at audubon.org for questions that you have about birds, and we might be covering them in another show, just
Right.
like this one.
Yes.
It's great that you come in, and it's so interesting to hear about the stamp program and how people can get involved, and we hope a lot more people find your website
Thank you.
and make their donations. Thank you so much, Mark and Dave, for coming in today
Thank you.
about the
Thanks,
stamp
Fran.
program. And thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard.